All right, guys, welcome back to another video. While I almost trip on my motor from my old car that I sold and this guy never picked it up. But anyways, this is the C3Strom. I've already done a review on it. I've already taken it to work. So this is actually the second time I'm going to be taking it to work. And I'm riding this bike after I took the Ride1Up REVV bike to work. So now I'm going back to this one because they're very similar. The only thing you're going to notice is obviously this has a futuristic type of look to it. I do think that it looks almost better than the REVV. I mean, that might be on opinion. I just think it looks super cool, but it has no suspension. And you're going to notice we have a secondary battery on here. We'll talk about it on the ride, and we'll probably talk a lot about the REVV as well as I go through this. You're going to notice we also have gears on this bike, and we have a huge chain ring. So that's why this bike is better to buy if you want to pedal an e-bike and you want to spend around the same price. Like, I think this bike's a little bit more expensive than the REVV. I think it's $2,700 but this bike is way better to pedal than the REVV, and they both go the same top speed and everything, I believe. I need to double check that, but let's get on the way, check it out, have a good time, and get out there and not get ran over. There's my neighbor right there giving me a little wave. That's right, we have a motorcycle out here. Hey, I forgot I put a mirror on this bike, which I need to do on the REVV as well. And sitting on this bike, man, it's so crazy because I just rode this bike maybe, I don't know how long, like 2 or 3 weeks before we got the REVV. And it feels so different now. Like, it's funny because the seat height on this bike is lower than the REVV, but the seat isn't as comfortable. So the REVV seat, you actually kind of like sink into it. I guess that's the best way to say it. It's like you kind of sink into the seat. This one, you don't sink into the seat. Now the seat is very comfortable, but then having no rear suspension, that's kind of rough. But I would like to point out that we were already doing top speed on this bike compared to the REVV. I don't know what's been up with the REVV when I can't get top speed all the time. It always sticks around like 30 miles per hour, and then sometimes it'll go a little bit faster. But this one's doing pretty good so far right out of the box. And the cool thing about this one is you don't have to go on their website and sign a waiver and put like your last 4 social security numbers on there or your driver's license number on there and all that kind of stuff. You can just pretty much get this bike, go into the settings, unlock it to turbo mode, and you're good to go. So I do like that about this bike. And let's keep it real. I mean, you don't see a bike like this every day. The REVV, that looks like a Super 73. It looks like every other bike out there. I will say it's a great design, but I love what C3Strom has done with this bike. Another thing this bike has too over the REVV is the brakes. Now they both have 4-piston brakes on here, but these are 203 millimeter rotors. They are massively bigger than the REVV. Now it does add a little bit of weight to it and everything like that, but I like these brakes. They actually work better than the REVV. But then again, I mean, the brakes on both bikes are good regardless. It does not matter what bike you get. They're both fantastic. It's just these are ever so slightly better. And I love this shifter on this side. You're not going to see that on the REVV. All right, I'm going. It's just that guy. I'm not sitting there and waiting for one dude when I'm on a bike. Nah, we ain't sitting like that. But yeah, these gears over here are super dope. All you have to do is twist them. It's like the coolest thing ever. And then you just twist it to go back. I love this thing. Don't walk out. Please don't turn out in front of me. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Man. Hate people. Gotta love people. Now he's behind me, so he could happen to run me over. But people just don't even look. How do you come out of like a parking lot and you just dart out in the street? You don't even stop. You don't even look. All right, so we almost got ran over here one time, so definitely gonna be careful. And this is gonna be fun as hell. We got some street tires on this bike. They're not made for the dirt. I kind of wish if we were gonna ride in this stuff, we had the REVV, because they got all-purpose tires. You kind of go off-road and on-road. That's the best thing I like about this bike is I want these tires on the REVV bike because all I do is ride in the street. Oh, here's one thing I wanted to talk about was the rear battery. Right before we left, I said we were gonna talk about it. And let's do that before we get to work. So you guys saw that I put a rear battery on the back. So the rear rack does accept bags on the side, and then you can put a battery on top of it. And it fits perfectly. Now there's no connection on this bike to hook them both in parallel. You would literally have to bring both keys, which I did just in case one of them falls off or something happens to them. You would basically have to bring the key, take this battery out, get the key for the other one, unlock it, and then switch them, and then lock both of them back up. And make sure you do, because you do not want your batteries falling off your bike. That's super cool, right? But with the design of this bike, the way the frame is with this battery, all the extra 52-volt batteries I have in my garage do not fit. Now the REV1 battery actually might fit this one. I haven't tried that one yet, but all the other batteries do not fit. So that's unfortunate. And I was kind of disappointed in that, because after I put that battery on, I was like, oh man, that sucks. So now I can't just swap batteries on the fly if I want. So now I can't double my range. And then I started looking at connecting them together, like what I would have to do. So I took the side panel off, which looks like it has a mid-drive motor. It doesn't have a mid-drive motor, it looks like it. And I was like, okay, what do the connections look like so I can run a custom cable and everything to both batteries? There's no clean way to run a cable like out there and then go to the other battery. So I just decided, you know what, I'm not gonna do it anymore. And I've already kind of decided what bike I want to keep over the other one. Woo, yeah, we got out there fast. Now, real quick, surprisingly, this bike feels like it takes off faster than the REV1. I feel like the REV1 has a more gradual start from like 0 to like 10 miles an hour. I seriously think this bike feels like more aggressive than that bike. 100%. I'm gonna have to go out on a limb here, and even though they're rocking the same thing, this one just feels quicker. I don't know why it does, but it definitely feels like it picks up faster. But anyways, going back to what I was saying about what bike I'm probably gonna keep, and I think I'm gonna have to get rid of this one. I know a lot of people out there were looking at this bike and were thinking about buying it from me, so I'm pretty sure it could be gone pretty quick. Now, it's a lot of money, and I'm definitely not gonna sell it cheap, because it is a fantastic bike for what it is. But obviously I just can't keep everything, and the REV1 just has ever so slightly more room to do like more activities on the bike, and it's set up more of a like Super 73 bike, which they have a huge community in. I feel like a lot of people could make custom enclosures for that REV1 bike because of the way it's set up. This bike, not so much. It's more like a futuristic look. You can't do a whole lot to it. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can modify anything, really. Look at West Coast Custom. They be doing a bunch of crazy shit to all these cars that you wouldn't think you could do. Or SEMA. SEMA always has some like crazy shit going on. But I mean, realistically, out in the world of us, we're kind of limited on what companies are gonna make for us, unless you have a crazy ass workshop, which I don't. Oh my God, I forgot how nice this bike is to turn. Oh my God, these tires are like, oh, I love them. I'm gonna have to, if I keep the REV1 bike, we're gonna have to switch those tires out, because these things are just dope. Woo, woohoo, oh God. It's a little weird when you get back on a bike, you know, you ride so many that I'm not exactly sure how fast I can take turns on this bike, but it was doing good. Now let's see how it does uphill. Remember the REV1 was like 24 miles an hour or something like that? Look at this, 28 miles an hour. So I'm telling you, this bike has more power. I don't get it. I thought they had the same exact controller, but I don't know if this one has more amps or not, but this thing is like, it's jamming. And another thing I like about this bike is, look at our battery bars. We're not even down one battery bar. Remember the REV1, when we took it to work, we were down one battery bar within the first like mile or two. Like, how does that even happen? And then the mileage on that thing wasn't even correct, if we're being honest. Now let's see what it says. I got 28 miles on this bike, and look, my trip says 4 miles. You know how legit that is? That is 100% legit. I got like a 6.5 to 7 mile trip. And since we've already done 4 miles so far, that's it's looking pretty spot on if you ask me. So I like that. REV1, I don't know what's going on. Maybe I got to go in the settings and adjust them some. But I review these bikes exactly how they come. And I know a lot of you guys say, oh, you can adjust this, you can adjust that. Yes, we can, you know, tweak all the settings we want. But I also like to just go off exactly how the average consumer is going to receive their bike. All right, so now we went through that red light right there. Even though this bike doesn't have suspension, I know that's gonna be a huge con to people. It's still nice and comfortable, unless you got a very, very bumpy road that you gotta take all the time. And I totally get it. You're gonna want suspension on a bike, especially this one being more expensive with no suspension in the back. I get it. But This thing is nice and comfortable still. And it feels more solid because it doesn't have suspension in the back. The whole frame and bike feel like more planted to the road. Oh, where's my horn? All right, my horn didn't really do anything, and I didn't want to sit there and, you know, hold it the whole time, because I feel like you're kind of being an ass at that point. Like, you see someone in front of you, you're like, is it a dog bark? I got a dog to bark. Hey. But seriously, I don't want to be an asshole. But another thing that I have to check out is how this headlight is at night. I'm pretty sure the REV1 was better. This one was a little bit worse, but this is still a badass headlight regardless. And I want to say the turn signals are blacked out on this model. So these are the turn signals that I would want on the REV1. It's kind of funny. It's like they kind of like switched some different parts, but had the same concept. But this bike was coming out first because they had a huge Indiegogo campaign, and it was on there for a very long time. So I think REV1 took information from a bunch of different companies, and probably this one on where it was getting manufactured, and probably said, hey, this looks like a fantastic bike to, you know, start our platform with the e-moped e-bikes. I think that's kind of how they got to this bike, or they got to their own bike, not this actual one itself. But they didn't do a bad job, though, I will say. The funny thing is maybe we'll hit like a higher top speed right here now we're coming down, but I haven't seen like 36 or 37 miles per hour on this bike. So I think the REV1 takes the cake for top speed. So even coming down this, the REV1 hit 40 miles an hour while this bike only hit 35. And I can see the power being limited as well. So maybe, you know how you have to go into the settings, you gotta change all these passwords. There's like 2 different passwords to get into all this custom settings. Maybe there's something you can do on this bike to unlock it to have unlimited power as well, because it literally showed me that it wasn't putting much power in the bike as we were coming downhill. So I don't know, we're just gonna have to look at that. All right, so by the time we got to work, 6.5, 7 miles, we finally went down a battery bar. Not too bad. And work does not look busy, thank the Lord. Oh my God, these brakes are so good. Absolutely so good. One other thing I gotta mention about this bike is it turns in the front way better than the REV1. And I wanna say that's because, real quick, let me get off the bike, is I wanna say the forks are more at an incline than the REV1, unless it's just the frame itself is longer. I'm not sure, but the whole steering mechanism in the front, it feels so much better. And it could also be the tires as well, but it just feels more freely to move. But either one is good when you're riding on the street. It just, I notice when I'm off the bike and I'm kind of moving it like this one turns so much better. But I'll see you guys at nighttime. Give me like 10 hours. It's gonna be 5 seconds for you. And we'll get back on the way and check this whole bike out at night and kind of compare some of the lights and stuff to the REV1.
You left.
What time was that, like 9?
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, it's simple. If you just want to use that cart and just push it to the back, get new ones, I mean, you could do that.
What's up, baby?
All right, Tim. All right, guys. Whoa, hold on, I can't even see. Whoa. I gotta adjust this mirror. This mirror ain't working for me right now. It is all messed up. Woo. These brakes work good, but I feel like gotta break them in a little bit more. Slam on them. Oh man, okay, these brakes work. I told you guys, 203 millimeter rotors. I think they're using the exact same, actually no, these have a brand name on them, that's right. So the REV1 doesn't have a brand name hydraulic brakes, and these do. Okay, I take that back, they have their own brand name on here. So it says C3 on the hydraulic brakes, so I don't know if they made their own hydraulic brake, I'm not exactly sure, but they work good. They're so much better than the REV1, I'll say that. But anyways, now that we're riding at night, you guys can get a good idea of how this headlight looks. And I think that's the high beam, so let me go into the normal one. So look at the difference between this. Remember when we were doing the REV1 just the other day? Check out the difference. So it still stays wide, it just gives you a little bit more extra down the way. And I think I need to up this just ever so slightly. But that's so weird that the REV1 has a totally different appearance on the high beam. And something's going on over here. Are they blocking my bike path? Oh man, this ain't looking too hot. Let's see, I gotta get over. right, I'm still going through it. You ain't gonna tell me I can't go through it. Nope. Later, guys. I don't know what they doing, but there was a big hole in the road that I saw as I was coming up here. But all right, so real quick, I've done a video about this before, but just in case you're new to the channel and you just like subscribe to my channel by looking at the Rev1 review, this is still a badass headlight. Like, look how good this is. Now, obviously, we are in the high beam mode, and that's the low beam, but this is still fantastic light. And like I said, I feel like I want to put it up ever so slightly a little bit more, but I just remembered, so this headlight is actually as high as it will go. It swivels on like a, how would you say it? A mounting bracket that has a hole with a glider in it, so it can only bend so much. So I forgot, we can't actually lift this headlight any higher, so maybe that's another point for the Rev1 in this case, because depending on your weight and if the bike like sags or whatever like that, or maybe depending if you're like going downhill a lot more in your air and you want to lift the headlight up, you can't do it anymore on this unless you modify the bracket in some way. But anyway, regardless of what bike you get, this one is still good. These are some top quality e-bikes regardless of which one you pick. It's funny because I posted both of these bikes in the Rev1 page. Everyone in the Rev1 page is like, this bike is badass. This is so much better than the C3Strom. And then I post the bikes in the C3Strom page. Oh my God, the C3Strom is so much better looking. Like, I don't think the Rev1's that great, blah, blah, blah. It's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Like, and I get it. You guys spent your money on a C3Strom. I understand that you're not going to admit that, hey, like, this other bike might be better than it because you want to justify your purchase on an e-bike. Let's just be real. That's just how it is. I'm not trying to hate on anybody out there. That's kind of like you buy a car, the next year, that same car comes out with a different update, and then they change a few things. Maybe they change a little bit of the body, and everyone's like, oh yeah, no, stick with the original one, even though the new one is better. And that's just because it's someone spent their money on the old one, and they're like, damn, like, I don't have the new one, like, whatever. Anyways, this bike is good. I'm having fun with it, and I see some cops, and they just ran a red light, man. Okay, it's green now, but they ran a red light. Oh, hell no, I'm gonna run a red light too. You can do it, I can do it. Shoot. Come on, copper, you see me? I'm running the red light too. What you gonna do? Can't be doing all that. I'll be like swerving. You think he might see me like swerving and wait for me up there? I would laugh my ass off because I got my helmet lights on right now. I would laugh. Dude, check this out. I know the bike is struggling to get up this hill just a little bit. You can hear the motor slowing down, but come on, man. 27 miles an hour coming up this compared to the Rev1. Fantastic. Well, 26 now. That's good. That's hella good. Oh, that cop's just chilling down there now. He's waiting for me. Yeah, wait for me. Hold on, let's see if we get into some shit right now. That looks like another cop. That's another cop right there. Yep, that car that's right there. They're smashing too. Oh, he's making a U-turn. He's making a U-turn. Let's cut a bunch across the lanes. What are they gonna do? They ain't gonna do nothing. Oh God, I'm going way too fast around that turn. Trying to pay attention to the cop. They must be after someone because he's now speeding to get somewhere. So I think someone was going that way because the other cop blew through this and they were heading that way. So there's some action going on. And obviously the light was out in my area. I don't know what's going on with that, but something in this area is going on. I mean, it's Fresno. I mean, Fresno's bad. There's something in the way, but I can see with this light. Woo! Yeah, let's go, let's go. Let's try the horn out on this bike. 100% the same as the Rev1 as well. And keep in mind, guys, it's been 10 hours, so I'm sorry if I'm going over like some of the same stuff. But there's a video I really want to do in my garage where we kind of just point the camera at both of these bikes side by side. Kind of something like Shreddy did. I wanted to do it before him, but I just didn't have my Rev1 bike yet. And then by the time I got it, I had to do the review on it first before I started comparing these. But I want to do the same thing, and I want to go over it in my own way. So I didn't actually watch this video because I think it was like over 3 hours. I kind of skimmed through it, but then there's no way I watched more than like 10 minutes of it just because it's like, I don't know where to find anything in that video when it's 3 hours long as a live stream. So the only thing that I got out of that video, and then I actually knew about it before Shreddy's video, was that they are coming out with an Astro Pro. For the email that I got from them, they said it was the Deluxe. It's called the Deluxe Astro Pro, or maybe it's a C3Strom Astro Deluxe. I'm not sure, but I got an email about it, and they said it was supposed to have suspension. Now, I haven't seen any pictures of it. I have no idea. Maybe some people out there know. I never reached out to the company and said anything, but they did send me an email about it stating that, you know, we're having this bike shipped out before we come out with our new model. So they were getting rid of some of their inventory. That's kind of why I was able to review this bike. And I'm kind of glad I was too, because I like it. Like, I like it. I'm not in love with it. I'm more in love with how this bike looks. It's kind of like futuristic in a way. But versatility and stuff is kind of where it's like, man, I don't see a big community of people getting behind this bike and doing a bunch of mods to it, you know? I just don't see that happening with this bike. Whereas the Rev 1, I just see people just modifying the heck out of it. And that's what it's really going to come down to. We might have talked about it earlier. And again, I apologize, but you never know. Like, it'd be cool if we can all get together, the group pages start coming up with mods, people have some like 3D printed stuff, maybe some custom like parts are being made, like enclosures, so we can put some, you know, batteries down in the middle, especially even if you don't want to do a 72 volt, just something that you can have an extra battery in the bottom and then hook it up to like the top battery somehow, and then you can have a shit ton of range. Now, obviously, we have the battery in the back. We already talked about how there's a lot of incompatibility with batteries you can put on this bike. So again, that's another win for the Ride1Up REVV. I just like the fact that right off the bat, I have so many batteries that my Ride1Up REVV bike has 44 amp hours in total already. I mean, it is a 52 volt, it's not 72 volt, but we'll probably get there one of these days. I never actually looked at the connection of this motor. I should have, because this one I've taken it apart before, and I think I took a picture of it, so I need to look and check it out and see. Oh my god, this is the bumpy section. It's pretty bumpy on this bike. Oh, I need to see what the connection is, because if it's like a L1019, then I need to see if the phase runner will hook up to this bike as well. The only bad thing about this bike is, where the heck do I put a 72 volt battery? Go people, go. At least on the Rev bike, we have the storage container. I could just throw the battery from the Zeus right in that storage container and just kind of lock it up and not worry about it. You know, it's going to be bouncing around probably, or maybe be pretty snug, but at least I have somewhere to put it just to kind of test some stuff out, and then I can custom order a 72 volt battery. This one, you're kind of limited. You can't really fit a really big battery on this bike. It is what it is, though. And let's get into another topic really quick. We got one more street to go before we go home. And that's the fact that a lot of people keep asking me, like, so how is this Super 73 compared to these bikes? And, you know, you're not going to be disappointed if you get a Super 73 RX, because that's the top of the line bike they have that has suspension, or the R, but you're still looking at like $4,000 for one of those bikes. It's just a lot of money for what you're paying for a bike. Like, they are fantastic bikes. There's a huge community about them, you know, like so many parts out there. So I can see why a lot of people would want to get into them, because their buddy might have them. Their buddy maybe went 72 volt on that bike. I get it. Like, they're so good. This bike, personally, to me, it's hard to say, man. This bike is perfect in every single way, other than not having rear suspension, compared to if you bought a Super 73 RX. I think that's just its biggest downside. Now, not having rear suspension makes this bike feel very sturdy and strong, and it feels very planted on the road, and this thing turns like crazy. But having rear suspension is like a game changer. So I would say get an RX, but at the same time, this bike is $2,700. I do have a $100 $100 coupon code for this bike as well, and that makes it $2,600. And that doesn't justify having rear suspension on an RX Super 73. It just really doesn't. So I would probably have to say this bike, just for the price. Now, if these bikes are really close, like let's say this bike was like $3,400 or $3,500, I would say get the Super 73 and spend the extra money to get the rear suspension if you really want to buy it. But the Rev 1 wins in every scenario when I try to compare all these bikes together, because you go off of the price, and I feel like these bikes should be switched. I know there's a lot of R&D that came into this whole futuristic look of this bike and whatnot, but this bike should be $2,400. And then the Rev 1, I think personally should be like $2,700. That's just what I'm looking at. And if you guys aren't interested in any of these bikes and you want to be a little bit on the cheaper side, one of the other bikes I reviewed was the YYG BR100. That is a phenomenal bike for the price. You can't go wrong. The only bad thing is that stock battery that's in the tube. That's irreplaceable. Like right now, the company said they're gonna make batteries for it, but no one can actually find a replacement battery. So you can put one in the frame if you've seen what that bike looks like, but replacing the stock battery is probably gonna be like, you're gonna be shit out of luck. Where I feel like these are just like the clip-on ones, so they're pretty dope. So you can't go wrong with those. That's a clean ass BMW. I'm gonna take a shortcut because I didn't want to stay next to him and then wait for him to get over, and then I have to like hit the brakes to get around him. So let's just hope no one comes out of this one little thing. We should be good. So I'm pretty much almost home, guys. Hopefully this video wasn't all over the place. Like, I apologize if it was. See, look, that BMW is barely passing right now. But I love you guys. You guys are the true MVPs of this channel. I'll have links in the description, coupon codes for both the Rev 1, the BR100 YYG e-bike, and the C3Strom. Phenomenal bikes regardless. We got home, 14-mile trip back and forth to work, and I'm down 2 battery bars. And if I was to turn this off and back on, let's see if it goes up 1 battery bar or not. Sometimes it does. No, so we're legit down like 2 battery bars. The only reason I would say to buy this bike over the Rev 1 100% is the fact that you have gears in the back and you have this nice little shifter that you just turn. It's so comfortable and it works so good, where the Rev 1 has 1 gear. Horrible to pedal. Absolutely horrible. Now look how big this chainring is. This is how we started the video. This thing is massive. It actually performs really good when you want to pedal. So if that's what you're into, this is a phenomenal bike. Again, guys, see you guys in the next one. Later.